After almost 7 years, Terry Anderson, free, happy, and nervous.
I've thought about this moment for a long time. And now it's here. And I'm scared to death.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Reporting tonight from NBC News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. Terry Anderson, a tough and resourceful former Marine sergeant, is free tonight after 6 years, 9 months as a hostage, and he has not lost his reporter's instincts. The former Beirut bureau chief for the Associated Press was held longer than any other American, and he was the last to be released. NBC's Ed Rabel is in Damascus, Syria. Ed?
Tom, we finally saw and heard from Terry Anderson following a roller coaster kind of day, full of promises that he was coming and doubts that he would ever get here. The moment he appeared before the international press, he took control of the room, spotting old friends in the crowd. He sent up a chorus of appreciation for all those who had helped gain his freedom.
Thanks just doesn't cover it. Your support, all my colleagues, journalists, has been very important. I've heard so many things over the years on the radio and in a few magazines and newspapers we've gotten about your work for me. And again, I just can't say how grateful I am.
After 2,454 days in captivity, he described the very last day under the kidnappers' control.
Yesterday afternoon, my captors came in, brought some new clothes, new shoes, my first in 7 years, and they hurt my feet, by the way. And they said that I would be going home today. They asked me to read a statement from them to the world about this kidnapping episode. And I did so, making very clear that it was their statement, not mine. But I felt it was worthwhile to listen to what they have to say. Spent the night awake, mostly. Today, again, spent the day pacing the room and playing solitaire and waiting. I think these last 24 hours have been longer than the whole 6.5 years.
He was ever the reporter.
I was never a Marine captain. I was a Marine staff sergeant. I'm very proud to have done that, by the way.
And what kept him going?
You just do what you have to do. You wake up every day, and you summon up the energy from somewhere, even when you think you haven't got it, and you get through the day.
And what were his last words for his kidnappers?
Goodbye.
Then he was off to meet his daughter, 6-year-old Salome, who was born while he was in captivity, a child he's never seen. She and her mother had come to Damascus for the reunion. Tom, the next stop for Terry Anderson is the American Military Hospital in Wiesbaden, Germany, for rest and medical checkups. Doctors are going to find someone who is very fit after almost 7 years as a hostage. Tom?
Thank you, Ed. For most Americans, of course, Terry Anderson was a pale figure in videotapes periodically released by his captors. But to his family and friends, he was so much more. One of his colleagues from the Beirut days was NBC's Tom Aspel, tonight awaiting Anderson's arrival in Germany. Tom, tell us about Terry Anderson, the man.
Tom, he was a tough man, but he must have felt despair during those long years. I couldn't help thinking, how was he holding up?
The first promising this, threatening that. I always wondered what went through his mind when they told him, look at the camera. This is for a message to the outside world. Who were they anyway? What kind of people keep a man locked up all those years, drag him out once in a while, take his picture, and then chain him up again? And the videotapes.
I'm in good health, but tired and very lonely.
They were somehow less chilling. It was much easier treating Terry Anderson as a story rather than someone I knew when I saw those tapes coming out of Beirut every now and then. He never seemed to try any cute tricks, like blinking out his location in Morse code with his eyelids or anything like that. He seemed to just sit there and read out what they told him to, like a reporter, come to think of it. These shots of him jogging along the seafront a month or so before he was kidnapped, we got him to do that as part of a story we were making about Americans living in Beirut despite the risks. You know what he said? I suppose you'll use them if I ever do get lifted, huh? Yeah, well, we did. More times than I can count now. We should all have sisters like Peggy Say.
We're begging you, in the name of God, to let us have Terry home with us again.
She never gave up, never let anyone forget her brother and the other American hostages. They're going to be close for the rest of their lives because of what's happened. But this little girl's going to be the main lady in his life right now. His daughter, Salome, born a few months after he was kidnapped. She was brought up to expect him through the door at any moment. We used to videotape her a couple of times a year and send the tapes to Lebanese TV stations, hoping he'd be allowed to see what she looked like. It worked, apparently. Imagine, what a way to find out you've had a daughter waiting. Terry Anderson won't just be a picture for her anymore. He's going to be real.
Terry Anderson won't stay quiet about the whole hostage saga. He's a reporter, and he's going to have questions. Tom?
Thank you, Thomas. Amid today's joy, reminders of the brutality of life in captivity, 2 Germans remain held hostage, and of the other Americans just released, a doctor treating Alan Steen said that he suffered brain damage from being kicked in the head, causing numbness and seizures. And Joseph Sicipio, chained to an outdoor balcony in the winter, well, he has permanent frostbite damage to his fingers and toes. When Nightly News continues in a moment, William Kennedy Smith and his accuser face-to-face in a Florida courtroom. And part 3 of our series, Pearl Harbor, 50 years later. Fred Francis tonight with the anatomy of an attack that changed history.
To doctor a cough, you have to keep up with the latest medicine for your family. Like new Robitussin cough drops from the people whose cough medicine is recommended by more doctors and pharmacists.
Try this, it's new.
Robitussin cough drops have an active ingredient that speeds relief right to your cough to soothe and medicate.
Excuse me, try this, it's new.
New Robitussin cough drops. Cough drops from the cough experts.
Guess which of these fruits, ounce for ounce, has the most vitamins and minerals? Yep, the California prune.
Sweet, delicious California prunes. Find out how good they really are.
When you get gas pain, you've got a choice. Your antacid or Gas X, the tablet made for gas pain. It's extra strength, 100% simethicone to get rid of gas faster than your antacid. Fight gas right with Gas X.
A surprise today in the West Palm Beach rape trial. William Kennedy Smith's accuser took the stand. The 30-year-old Florida woman had not been expected to testify so soon in the trial, only now in its 3rd day. NBC's Deborah Roberts watched the drama unfold.
State calls Patricia Bowman.
A composed Patricia Bowman, her face electronically obscured by the courtroom video staff, calmly recalled how she met William Smith at a Palm Beach bar last Easter weekend.
I recall Mr. Smith asking me to dance.
What was his demeanor to you at that time?
He was a very nice man.
She told the jury Smith even introduced her to his uncle, Senator Ted Kennedy, and Kennedy's son, Patrick.
Did he say anything at all to you that indicated suggestive conversation?
Oh, no. I've really felt like I could trust him.
Bowman then testified she gave Smith a ride to the Kennedy estate, where he invited her to walk the beach. But she says he quickly became aggressive, and she tried to leave him.
He had me on the ground, and I was trying to get out from underneath of him because he was crushing me. And he had my arm, and I was yelling, no, and stop. And I tried to arch my back to get him off of me, and he slammed me back into the ground, and I got, and then he pushed my dress up, and he raped me.
There is speculation that Bowman's testimony so early in the trial indicates the state's case may be in trouble. Yesterday, the defense effectively attacked the testimony of Ann Mercer, the woman Bowman telephoned for help after the alleged attack. Bowman's testimony was powerful. Now Smith's attorneys will try to shake her story under further cross-examination. No word yet on whether Smith will take the stand himself to tell his story. Deborah Roberts, NBC News, West Palm Beach, Florida.
The troubled airline industry today suffered another death in the family. Pan American Airlines shut down after more than 6 decades of service. NBC's Robert Hager has more tonight.
We are very sorry to advise you that Pan American Airways has suspended operations. All flights are canceled.
The recording on Pan Am's reservations line said it all. The airline losing $2 million a day called it quits. Thousands of passengers stranded, many airlines unwilling to honor their discount tickets. 7,500 employees off the job.
We're all upset, but it's another mountain we'll have to climb.
It's just going to be very, very difficult this Christmas.
This employee heard from her mother.
And just called me and told me not to do any more shopping because Pan Am is liquidating.
Pan Am went under in part because Delta pulled out of a deal to help finance what was left of the airline. All the nation's airlines are hurting. Of what were the 12 largest, Eastern is out of business, so is Midway, and now Pan Am. Continental operates under Chapter 11 bankruptcy, as does America West and TWA effective next month. That's half the largest airlines, the others hanging on. Business seemed finally to be coming back this summer, but lately it's been off again. November ridership figures due out shortly will actually be worse than November a year ago. As for Pan Am, which once covered the globe with flights, its famed round-the-world flights were first to go. Then, in 1985, it sold its Pacific routes to United. More recently, its Atlantic routes to United and Delta. Its shuttle sold to Delta. Today, the last of the airline, its Caribbean and South American service, closed down.
With less competition, ticket prices to Latin America could go up. And as airlines continue to bleed cash, it looks like the industry could lose close to another $2 billion this year. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
And this was a losing day for Wall Street. The Dow Industrials were down today in heavy trading.
Reintroducing a glorious name for a glorious new automobile. The 1992 Buick Roadmaster. With its powerful V8 performance and the security of its driver's airbag, anti-lock brakes, and full perimeter frame, Roadmaster is perhaps the best value in an American luxury sedan. Roadmaster also delivers something only a Buick can deliver. Buick quality.
Now you can ask Angela Lansbury about Bufferin.
Angela, you've said on TV that Bufferin is effective pain relief. Is it really strong aspirin?
I'll say it is. Extra strength Bufferin's the strongest dose of aspirin you can buy. 1,000 milligrams.
Angela, how can Bufferin be so strong if it has buffers?
That's a good question. I've learned the buffers don't weaken it. They just help prevent aspirin's stomach upset. Bufferin's great pain relief.
Shouldn't you discover the strength of Bufferin?
What does it feel like to slip your feet into a pair of isotoner slippers? Relaxing. Soothing. Isotoner slippers. Doesn't someone you know deserve a pair?
Here's a great big idea.
Salad shooter.
From Presto, professional salad shooter slicer shredder. Big capacity and power. Special blades to point and slice thick, slice thin, shred, even ripple cut. Right where you want.
Salad shooter.
From Presto.
50 years ago, a posting at Hawaii's Pearl Harbor was considered dream duty until December 7, 1941. Japan's surprise attack exploded that dream and forced America into World War. Part 3 now of our series, The Attack. NBC's Fred Francis on that fateful weekend a half-century ago.
It was the day before the world would change forever. Hundreds of miles from Hawaii, turbulent weather concealed the greatest armada of modern times as it sailed top speed toward Pearl Harbor. On Oahu, life was a GI's dream. Many suspected war was near. It gave purpose to the partying. Yet near didn't mean here on this weekend of drinking and camaraderie. Pilots and sailors on the Japanese carriers celebrated too. They had been told of a message from Tokyo, climb Mount Niitaka. It was a code phrase ordering the attack. For the Americans, it was another day in paradise. No one took seriously a weeks-old sabotage alert. Army pilot Gabby Gabreski.
December 6th was a normal day. In other words, it was a normal party day. Everybody was completely relaxed.
And yet there were so many warnings, hard, explicit clues of Tokyo's intentions. Warnings from January 1941 until minutes before the assault. "51 minutes after that radar report was received and ignored, the first wave of 183 planes began the strike. Some of these pictures are a recreation, but the following radio broadcast was real enough.
1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, NBC. Hello, NBC. We have witnessed this morning a severe bombing of Pearl Harbor by enemy planes, undoubtedly Japanese. It is no joke. It is a real war.
Magruder Tuttle had just stepped outdoors at dawn.
So I looked up and saw a rising sun under the wing of the plane, and my mouth went dry at that to realize that this was an enemy. This was war.
America's Pacific Fleet so vulnerable. Its men, like Herb O'Neill, so paralyzed by what they were seeing.
It seemed to me like I froze right to the ground. I couldn't move. It seemed like for 10 minutes I stood there totally frozen, and I'll tell you the truth, I broke out in cold sweat.
In the harbor, there were 96 U.S. warships. 7 of the 8 battleships were close together. It was oh so easy, said John Rutledge, who was standing on the California.
About this time, the California was hit with 3 torpedoes. We had never seen the torpedo planes coming across Pearl Harbor at all.
Rutledge was flipped from the California into fiery, oil-thick waters. Nearby, another battleship, the Nevada, made a run for it, firing as it went. So did the Monaghan, a destroyer, with John Richardson on its deck.
On the port side, a Japanese Zero flew right across the ship. I could have thrown a potato and hit the man.
Most U.S. resistance was as effective as throwing a potato. Herb O'Neill told of one friend who fought back with a pistol.
And I'll swear to this day, he fired the first shots in our defense in that war. He stuck that 45 up in the air and started blazing with anything that came by.
Fighting back seemed hopeless. Japanese losses were light. Even before the second wave of 170 attack planes swooped in unopposed 1 hour later, most of Battleship Row was aflame. This is the battleship Arizona, exploding at 8:05 on the worst single day in modern American military history. The havoc was so complete, so crushing, many men feared the war which began on that Sunday morning might be lost.
We all felt that that was our last day on this earth.
The smoke and the fear lasted for weeks, but the twisted wreckage galvanized a nation, and the fear gave way to resolve. Fred Francis, NBC News, the Pentagon.
Tomorrow night, part 4 in this series, America Goes to War. John Chancellor shows a nation mobilized after Pearl Harbor.
As we approach the 1992 Olympic Games, many are striving to be their best. They call him Iron Legs. But Richard Lowe isn't an athlete. He's a letter carrier on some of the cruelest hills in San Francisco. The 750,000 workers of the Postal Service are proud to sponsor the 1992 Olympic Games and share with you the quest to be the best.
We deliver for you.
Panasonic presents a new breed of smooth operator. The new Smooth Operator rechargeable razor unites the old-fashioned closeness of a warm, wet shave with the convenience and no-nick comfort of an electric. Don't try this with any plugged-in razor. Smooth Operator wet-dry razors from Panasonic. Smoother than you ever thought you'd be.
By noon, her fever was climbing, and now she has a hacking cough and a raw, sore throat. Kate Porter has the flu. She needs Theraflu, soothing hot liquid relief to ease flu symptoms fast. Theraflu, your flu misery stops here.
If you're looking for a great vacation, I've got just the place. In the morning, in the evening, ain't we got fun? Not much money, oh, but honey, ain't we got fun? The food is great here, there's never a bill. We'll stay up late, dear, let's not miss a thrill. Take a 3, 4, or 7-day fun ship vacation on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
Have you had your V8 today? Did you know that V8 juice has less than half the calories of that apple?
Wow!
V8 is a nutritious blend of 8 vegetable juices that taste terrific. Have you had your V8 today?
New cause for gloom tonight about the recession. The Federal Reserve says its nationwide survey shows the recovery is, in its word, flagging. And the government's estimate of third quarter economic growth and the gross national product was revised downward to an anemic 1.7%. Even President Bush conceded in a speech today that the nation faces what he called tough times. More on that now from NBC's John Cochran.
The president's message to worried Americans was once again, let's wait and see how bad things get before deciding whether drastic action is needed. Bush will still delay his decision 8 weeks until his State of the Union address.
I will go to Congress with a new action program. And I'll call on Congress to set aside politics, even though we're in election year then, and focus on the public interest. And I'll challenge them to enact a common sense set of economic reforms. And if we do our work promptly, and we can, Congress can act fast when they want to, we'll still have plenty of time left in 1992 for partisan politics.
There is also some time left this year for politics. As Bush's limousine returned to the White House, looking on was someone with his own interest in the White House. That's David Duke, in town to announce he will run against Bush in at least 16 Republican primaries. At the National Press Club, Duke accused Bush of caving in to liberals on civil rights and the economy.
You know, George Bush could have vetoed the spending bills and the budgets of this government. He didn't do it. He could definitely veto the affirmative action policies. He could veto our welfare policies.
But Duke's Nazi and Klan past arouses anger.
Nazi! Nazi! You're a goddamn Nazi! You're a Nazi! How dare you talk about racial discrimination, you Nazi!
Duke may not be a real threat, but he is another headache for George Bush. And even after Duke fails to win the nomination, he says he may run as a third-party candidate. That brings back memories of George Wallace's third-party campaigns with both populist and racist overtones. But Wallace never got more than 14% of the national vote, and he was a far better campaigner than Duke.
But voters are angry at President Bush about the economy, and David Duke could win some protest votes. John Cochran, NBC News, the White House.
A Los Angeles jury late today found Charles Keating, Jr. guilty of security fraud in that savings and loan scandal. The charges stem from sales of junk bonds by Keating's Lincoln Savings.
Ford Trucks, the best never is. Ford Trucks.
This year, we're introducing more new ideas than any other truck company. A newly designed Ford full-size pickup. All new full-size vans. And don't forget our phenomenal new success story, Explorer. Now, the word truck has been redefined. Who redefined it? Ford.
More people are driving the best-built, best-selling American trucks than ever before.
I use a shampoo for dandruff, but my scalp still itches like crazy.
You need new Scalpicin, the revolutionary scalp medicine for deep scalp itch, not ordinary dandruff. Scalpicin is not a shampoo. It's a clear liquid you don't wash away like shampoo. Apply Scalpicin anytime for deep scalp itch relief with medicine chosen by doctors over all these dandruff shampoo formulas. Scalpicin penetrates to relieve the itch and help prevent flaking.
The itch is gone.
New Scalpicin, the scalp medicine for deep scalp itch.
Domino's just what you wish, and Domino's had to ring your bells.
With Domino's Pizza's Season's Greetings Special.
Nobody knows like Domino's.
Now get a medium pepperoni pizza for just $2.99 with any large pizza at the regular price.
Nobody knows like Domino's.
We don't make your pizza till you make your call and deliver in 30 minutes or less, guaranteed.
Nobody knows like Domino's. How you like pizza at home.
This Christmas, you can send a beautiful gift without ever having to leave home. The FTD Season's Greetings Bouquet. It's highly recommended by the one big guy who should know.
It's as easy as FTD.
You can count on Sears for great Christmas values. This Craftsman 13-drawer heavy-gauge steel professional chest and cabinet combination is a fantastic $299.98. A great price, a great gift, and only at Sears now.
Terry Anderson, the last American hostage, we hope. It's been a painful, frustrating, and tragic time for the victims, their families, and for this nation. Hostages and terrorism have become too familiar in our vocabulary. What we've been through. NBC's Mike Betcher.
We were 12 years younger when it began, and only beginning to learn the limits of our power against those who held us hostage.
I want the American people to know, and I want the world to know, that we will persist in our efforts through every means available until every single American has been freed.
America was at war and didn't know it. Consider the toll of the 13-year conflict. 66 Americans were held hostage in Tehran. 153 were hijacked aboard TWA Flight 847. Robert Dean Steedham was murdered. 444 were held hostage aboard the Achille Lauro. Leon Klinghoffer was murdered. 46 people were killed when a bomb ripped apart the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. 241 U.S. Marines died when their Beirut barracks were bombed. 2 American servicemen were killed and 64 injured by a terrorist bomb planted inside a Berlin disco. 259 died aboard Pan Am 103. 17 Americans were held hostage in Beirut. 3 of them were murdered. In 12 years, a total of more than 1,220 were terrorized or killed.
It is, I suppose, a low-intensity war with moments of intensity. And it's a war that isn't really settled because the hostages were only a symptom of a greater and deeper divide between ourselves and the Middle East.
Presidents struggled to find ways to fight back. We tried and failed in the Iranian desert. We shot back in Lebanon.
Tripoli is under attack.
And at Libya. America could fight an army it could see, but terrorists and kidnappers seemed invisible. But if we failed during 12 years of trying, so did the hostage takers. They gained nothing but notoriety. Today, the last prisoner of a long war finally came home. Mike Betcher, NBC News, New York.
That's Nightly News. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you tomorrow night from Los Angeles as I head for Pearl Harbor. And tonight, immediately following your late local news, an NBC News special report on the hostages.
Tonight, as the enemy approaches Pearl Harbor,
I've made you successful. What have you made me?
unsuspecting young Americans
I love you, Carol.
are about to face the ultimate terror.
We're at war.
Tonight at 10, 9 Central, Pearl on NBC.
On January 14th, 1952, something happened to wake up America. The Today Show. Relive the many great moments. Today at 40, catch the memories.